Hi everybody, Patrick here from EscapeRoomElectronics.com. Links below. This is the second video manual for the 9-in-1 multi-escape room prop set. 9 escape room props in one set controlled by one control board. This video will serve as the video manual for program 2A and 2B. And what we have here is the wall adapter, 12 volts 2 amps, 5 1.5 meter USB cables, wireless transmitter, key fob, stereo cable, mag lock with bracket and mounting hardware, controller board, and 5 sensor boards, light sensor boards that are all connected together. Now, when I showcase the prop in just a minute, what will happen is we'll be extending each of these boards 1.5 meters from each other, so that essentially there's a 7.5 meter distance between the main board and the final board. Now, one thing to notice, the final board has to be at the end, and it's got a little bit of glue on the processor board right there, so keep that in mind. That board has to be on the end because it has a different program than the rest of the sensor boards. So program 2A is a dark sensor prop, so when each of these sensors are mounted and exposed to complete darkness, only when all of them are exposed to complete darkness will the electromagnetic lock deactivate. For program 2B, on power up, we're actually allowed to calibrate the state of our sensors. So if we want for this sensor and this sensor to be exposed to darkness and these three to be exposed to light, we can set it to that in the calibration mode. So only when this sensor and this sensor are exposed to darkness and this sensor are exposed to normal room light will the electromagnetic lock deactivate. So first things first, let's set up our control board, and then we'll connect our magnetic lock, our stereo connector, the sensor cable, sensor boards, etc. And then I'll offer 2 demonstrations, one for program 2A and one for program 2B. To start up the control board in program 2, what I want to do is simply turn dip switch 3 on. Now when we power up, it will say program 2. Right below the audio output, there's a jumper here. You want to make sure that it's shorting A and not B. The mag lock has a red and black wire, but there are extension wires to make it a little bit longer. And in this case, I've got a blue wire connected to red and a white wire connected to black. The one common denominator here is that white will always be connected to black. Your set, if you choose to purchase one, might not be blue, but it will be the solid color. White will be always black or the negative, and the solid color will be connected to red, the positive. Just below, or to the left of the audio output jack, there is a terminal block, and the left is labeled BLK for black, and the right RED for red. So we want to connect our solid color wire to this terminal and our white wire to this terminal, like so. And now our mag lock is connected. If you want to use program 2B, we're going to need one of the included mountable key switch modules on an extension. And what we're going to do is we are going to connect it to the key 2 terminal right here. You might not be able to see it, but this 2-pin header right here is labeled key 2 on the top of the board. So what I'm going to do is connect it, and there's no polarity. Sorry if the camera goes out of focus. There's no polarity, just make sure that it's connected. And if you power up with the key turned right, we'll enter into program 2B. I'm going to leave this for now because I'm going to showcase program 2A for the time being. Now, the idea here is that we connect all of our sensor boards in series to the topmost or leftmost USB socket. Now, this is just showing them connected directly to each other, but I'm actually going to show you the demonstration with all of them connected via 1.5 meter extension cables. You just need to make sure that you're using this specific USB terminal. Before I get to the demonstration, I forgot to mention that you want to take the included stereo cable, connect it to the stereo in port of your computer speakers or Bose player or stereo system, and connect the other end to the audio output jack, like so. So I've got everything connected except for the power supply, and what I've got here are all of the sensor boards, some kitchen bowls that I'm going to use to help with this demonstration. Obviously all of the sensor boards connected in series. That final one is the end board that we talked about earlier. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reposition my camera so that you can see all of this in action. So all sensor boards are out there. The one on the end of, if I haven't mentioned already, is the end board. Very important that is the end board. A little bit of glue on the processor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to power it up in program 1A.
Program 2. Magnetic lock activated.
So with these bowls, I'm going to simulate darkness being exposed to these sensors. Now these sensor boards are mountable, and there's one very important step that I forgot to mention during the setup procedure. It involves switching a jumper on each of the sensor boards, but it's very easy, and I'll cover that at the end of the video. Don't forget about that because it's very important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover each of these sensors. And what you'll notice is when these sensors are exposed to darkness, the onboard LED lights up, but only when they are in order. So I'm going to cover all of the sensors with a bowl. And only when I do that will this happen.
Magnetic lock deactivated.
At which point the game is over and the magnetic lock is deactivated. So now what I'll do is I will remove one of the bowls, preferably all of the bowls, but just to show you how to reset the game, I can do one of two things. I can press B on the transmitter.
Magnetic lock activated.
And that resets the game. Alternately, I can use another key to manually reset it, and I'll show you that at the end of this video. But for the time being, the wireless transmitter works perfectly well. So, let's talk about program 2B. Prior to setting up program 2B, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to take the key that's connected to key slot 2 and turn it right. And I'm going to want to get my sensors ready for calibration. Now this step is simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to expose the first sensor, the fourth sensor, and the fifth sensor to darkness. I'm going to leave sensors 2 and 3 exposed to light. And so this is a combination set. So once calibrated, only when these 3 sensors are exposed to darkness and these 2 are exposed to light will the electromagnetic lock deactivate. And you can create your own pattern, and it's saved until you power off. So what I'm going to do for calibration state is cover this sensor, and this sensor, leaving these 2 exposed to light. And now I'm going to power up.
Program 2.
And I'm going to turn the key switch slot back left. I'm going to turn it left to start the calibration.
Calibrate sensors. Remove all objects from sensor view.
At which point, it gives me some time to remove the objects.
Magnetic lock activated.
So only at this point will the magnetic lock deactivate it. Only if those 3 sensors are exposed to darkness and these 2 exposed to light. So just to give you an example, I'm going to cover this one, which is supposed to be exposed to light, this one, and this one. So all I need to do to deactivate the lock is to remove this.
Magnetic lock deactivated.
Works perfectly. And so to reset the game, what I would do is I would just remove all the bowls. And I would use the transmitter. Press B on the transmitter.
Magnetic lock activated.
And again, I would just cover this sensor, and this
Magnetic
sensor.
lock deactivated.
And that is how program 2B works. It is a combination set. So now let's talk about the 2 final pieces of information, and that'll be the end of this video. I'll just reset the system.
Magnetic lock activated.
With my camera, it might seem a little bit difficult to see this, but there's a jumper here, a 3-pin header and a jumper. On the left, you'll see AC, and on the right, you'll see DC, and the middle pin is in. For this, for both of these programs, you want to have the jumper shorting in and DC. If you have the jumper shorting AC and in, you won't damage anything, but your prop will not work. So that's very important. Now, what I also forgot to mention is that you don't need to use all 5 sensors. You just need to make sure that you're using the final board. The final board on the end. You could use one sensor board and then the final board if you'd like. or you can use all 5 or anything in between. As long as the final board, the board with a little bit of glue on the processor, is the last in line. And we can also manually reset the device without the wireless key fob. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Now I'm going to use key 2, not to choose which mode, but to manually reset as opposed to using the wireless transmitter. So I'm going to power up in program 1A, and this works for both programs.
Program 2. Magnetic lock activated.
Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually cover. This is the end board. I'm only using 2 right now. I'm going to cover them both.
Magnetic lock deactivated.
Now instead of using the wireless transmitter, let's use my reach. Turn it right and left.
Magnetic lock activated.
And there you have it. So that is program 2 and 2B. This board supports 9 programs altogether, so we've covered 3 so far. Next, we will be covering our key-based slot, or our key-based prop, where 3 keys need to be turned at the exact same time in order to deactivate the prop. So you find the keys, you insert them, and only when they're turned at the exact same time will it deactivate the electromagnetic lock. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope that you'll return to watch the rest of the video manuals. Take care and have a great day.